The iPhone 18 Pro rumor cycle has started earlier than ever, and if even half of these leaks are accurate, Apple's next Pro iPhone could be a much bigger deal than a typical year-to-year refresh. We're hearing strong hints about a noticeable battery life boost, a cleaner front display with a smaller dynamic island, a DSLR-style camera upgrade, and a new A20 Pro chip built for speed, efficiency, and on-device AI. So in this video, we're breaking down the biggest iPhone 18 Pro leaks and rumors based on reports and chatter circulating from sources like McRumors, 9to5Mac, and leaks shared through outlets such as Android headlines, plus what they could mean in real-world use. And yes, we'll also talk about the one more thing that might show up alongside it: Apple's long-rumored foldable iPhone. Let's get into it. First up, battery life. Because for most people, that's the upgrade that matters every single day. According to the latest iPhone 18 Pro rumors, Apple is aiming for even better battery life than the iPhone 17 Pro, thanks to improved efficiency, tighter iOS optimization, and better real-world endurance. That wording is important. Real-world endurance usually suggests Apple isn't just chasing a bigger battery number on paper. It's trying to make the phone last longer in the way people actually use it, with mixed apps, background activity, navigation, camera use, and cellular data. If Apple pulls this off, the iPhone 18 Pro could become one of those rare upgrades where you immediately feel the benefit, especially for heavy users who rely on their phone all day for video calls, content creation, location tracking, or mobile gaming. And if Apple can deliver longer battery life while also pushing more AI features on device, that's a sign the internal efficiency improvements are serious. Now let's talk about the display, because this is where the iPhone 18 Pro could look meaningfully different the moment you unlock it. The big headline here is a smaller dynamic island. Leaks based on CAD-style renders being discussed online suggest Apple could shrink the familiar pill-shaped cutout significantly. One specific claim floating around is that the dynamic island on the iPhone 18 Pro could measure around 14.98 millimeters wide, roughly a 25% reduction compared to what's expected on the iPhone 17 Pro. Other reports and earlier accessory style leaks have hinted at an even bigger reduction, with some estimates pushing as high as 30 to 35% smaller. If this happens, it's more than a cosmetic change. A smaller cutout means more usable screen space, a cleaner look when watching videos, and less visual distraction when you're reading or editing. Apple has done a good job making Dynamic Island feel alive with animations and live activities. But a lot of users still want one simple thing: more screen, less cutout. So how would Apple shrink it? The rumor is that Apple may move more Face ID hardware under the display, specifically the flood illuminator, while keeping at least part of the system, like the infrared camera, still visible. That means we might not get a completely uninterrupted, full-screen iPhone just yet, but it's clearly a step in that direction, and the strategy makes sense. Apple won't compromise Face ID security just to chase aesthetics. If under-display components can deliver the same speed and reliability, Apple will gradually reduce what's visible on the front until the island becomes minimal, or eventually disappears. Next, cameras, because this is where the iPhone 18 Pro rumors start sounding less like small tweaks and more like pro-level tools. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to keep the general rectangular camera plateau design language from recent models, but with subtle refinements in finish and materials. Apple tends to evolve its Pro design carefully, so don't expect a radical look overnight. Expect a more polished, more premium version of what's already working. But the exciting part is what's rumored inside the camera system. One of the biggest iPhone 18 Pro camera leaks is the possibility of a variable aperture system on the main camera. That's a feature you normally associate with dedicated cameras and high-end photography gear, not smartphones. Here's why that matters in real life. A variable aperture allows the camera to physically control how much light enters the lens. If you open the aperture wider, you can capture more light, great for low-light photos, and potentially create a more natural background blur. If you stop the aperture down, you can increase sharpness across the frame, which helps when shooting landscapes, architecture, group photos, or anything where you want more of the scene in focus. Right now, smartphone cameras simulate a lot of this through computational photography. Apple's portrait mode and depth processing are impressive, but they're still software-driven. A variable aperture would be a more real photographic tool, especially if Apple combines it with its already strong image processing pipeline, and it doesn't stop there. There are also rumors pointing to improvements on the telephoto side, potentially including a wider aperture telephoto lens. That would be huge for zoom photography, because the biggest weakness of many telephoto smartphone shots is low light performance. If Apple can bring in more light through the telephoto lens, your zoom photos at night, or even indoor zoom shots, could look dramatically cleaner, sharper, and less noisy. In other words, the iPhone 18 Pro camera could move closer to that DSLR-style flexibility people have been asking for, without sacrificing the simplicity that makes iPhone photography so popular. Now let's go under the hood. The A20 Pro chip. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to launch with Apple's next major silicon upgrade, the A20 Pro. The rumor is that it could be built on a 2-nanometer process, along with advanced packaging technology designed to improve performance while using less power. If that's accurate, it's the kind of upgrade that impacts everything: app loading, gaming performance, photo and video processing, and, most importantly, efficiency. Efficiency is the hidden feature that makes your phone feel fast without getting hot, and powerful without draining the battery. And then there's the big topic Apple is clearly betting on-device AI. A more efficient, more powerful chip means Apple can run heavier AI tasks directly on the iPhone instead of constantly relying on the cloud. That matters for speed, privacy, and responsiveness. It also matters for battery life, because if Apple can run AI smarter and more efficiently, you get the features without paying for them with massive battery drain. So if the iPhone 18 Pro really does combine better battery life with a more AI-capable chip, that's a strong sign Apple is trying to make AI on iPhone feel practical, not gimmicky. Now, what about the design? Apple is rumored to be refining its hardware design language again, possibly moving toward a more unified rear finish that blends glass and aluminum more seamlessly. Recent iPhones have a very distinct material separation. Premium, yes, but also visually segmented. A more seamless blend could make the phone look cleaner and feel more like a single sculpted object, which is exactly the kind of subtle luxury Apple tends to aim for in Pro models. There's also a rumored new color: deep red. If Apple does a deep red iPhone 18 Pro, expect it to become the headline finish, the one everyone talks about, the one that sells out early, the one that immediately signals, this is the new Pro. Apple's Pro colors are usually conservative, so when a bold, rich tone appears, it tends to define the lineup for that year. Even physical controls may change. One rumor suggests Apple could simplify camera controls by moving away from touch-sensitive gestures and leaning more toward pressure-based input, controls that feel intentional, reduce accidental swipes or taps, and behave more like a dedicated shutter or control surface. If Apple is serious about turning the iPhone into an even stronger creator tool, improving camera ergonomics makes total sense. The best camera is the one you can control quickly, confidently, and consistently, especially when you're filming or shooting in unpredictable conditions. Now let's talk software, because hardware upgrades are only half the story, and Apple's biggest advantage is how tightly it integrates iPhone hardware with iOS. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to land in an era of iOS that's heavily focused on AI features. One rumor points to iOS 27 bringing deeper AI-driven upgrades, including a smarter Siri and new camera-based intelligence. One specific feature being discussed is a Siri camera mode, where you point your iPhone at something and Siri gives contextual insights in real time, identifying objects, landmarks, places, and possibly even things like meals or environments. This is exactly where smartphones are heading. Not just taking photos, but understanding what the camera is seeing and turning that into useful information instantly. And there's also talk of tighter integration with models like Google Gemini, potentially pushing Siri to become more conversational, more capable, and better at follow-up questions, context, and real assistance, not just basic commands.